Hello YouTube, Dave here again. For this week's discussion video, I want to try something a little bit different. Instead of pitting two different concepts against one another, I wanted to just discuss magic items. In particular, what is your favorite magic item? What is one of the magic items that you remember most from your earliest days playing the game? As a dungeon master, was there a magic item that you saw in a book that really kind of intrigued you and got your creative juices flowing? And for me, the answer to that actually came way back when I first started playing. The very first book I ever got for D&D was actually a copy of the second edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. And I remember flipping through it, and the magic item that really caught my attention was the dreaded Deck of Many Things. I don't know what it was about this item in particular. It may have just been, the chart really kind of caught my eye as I was just flipping through. But this thing was instantly a favorite of mine. I remember I incorporated it into way too many of my early second edition AD&D campaigns, and I think even one or two of my original third edition D&D campaigns ended up having this. But I just love the randomness about it. I love the fact that there were so many great things that can happen, but there's just as many terrible things that can happen. For example, you may draw a card that allows you to instantly gain a level if you, defeat the next creature that you encounter, or the next monster that you encounter. There's, to gain 18 charisma in a small keep. And then there's some things that can actually create other spin-off adventures, like gain a treasure map, +1 magic weapon, so the treasure map could create an adventure, or even some of the bad things had some interesting aspects to them. My favorite was probably the Void, just because what it does is it traps the drawer's soul. So the soul is, still present, but it's trapped away somewhere where the player characters may have to go on a quest to kind of find it and free it, so that the player character that drew the Void card can once again resume adventuring. And I just remember, like I said, I love this item so much that I used it probably, like I said, way in excess. So I was absolutely ecstatic when, back in the 4th edition days, Wizards of the Coast released an adventure called Madness at Gardmore Abbey. So this was a heroic tier adventure for levels 6 through 8, but the big thing about it is that it actually included a copy of the Deck of Many Things, so an actual set of Deck of Many Things cards, because prior to that, in 2nd edition you just used basic playing cards, which was kind of boring and not visually representative of what you're actually doing. I think 3rd edition did have rules for using tarot cards, but I was never really into that sort of thing. But this, having released the actual physical copy of a Deck of Many Things, was just awesome. One of the things that I really, I loved it so much that I did whatever I could to make sure that I got this on release day. So actually, the story behind me getting this is, at the time I lived in the Annapolis Valley. I lived in the town of Kentville in Nova Scotia, and the shopping malls was the next town over, which is New Minas. So early morning, I hopped on the bus to go to the mall and went to the local bookstore there, because at this point in time there weren't any local game shops in the area. And I waited for the store to open, and because they usually had the stuff, on release day. Problem is this was one of the few items that they weren't going to be getting for another week. And I just didn't want to wait another week to get this. I had to get my hands on this right away. So I ended up hopping on another bus for an hour to get to another mall. And luckily they had a copy of it there, so I was able to run in, and the bus had to wait usually for another one to come along for transfers. So I was actually able to get off the bus, run over to the bookstore, pick this up, because they did have one copy, and made my way back to the bus and went home. All the while, I was sick with a brutal cold and had, a high fever, uncontrollable coughing and sneezing, but I had to get this. And the biggest reason, and I want to do an actual full review of this adventure at some point, because this adventure is really amazing. But the thing I just wanted to kind of show off here in this video, just because it's relevant, is I want to show off the actual cards themselves from the Deck of Many Things. So I'm not going to go into like an unboxing or go over the contents of the adventure, because like I said, that's a whole other video. when I get back into my classic modular reviews. But like I said, the whole reason that I went through this ordeal, sick as a dog, to get these the cards is to get the, like I said, the actual deck of many things. And they were just absolutely, the cards were awesome. I mean, I just loved the way they looked. The artwork on them was great. They're exactly what you needed. So this, unfortunately, I never got to finish the particular adventure. And the biggest reason for that is the Deck of Many Things has a bit of a reputation. And a lot of seasoned veterans, people familiar with, role-playing traditions and very familiar with the Deck of Many Things from way back, just didn't want anything to do with it. So I actually had the player characters find a card in a Dragon's Treasure Hoard, and the thing was for them to, they were then approached by somebody to try to collect all the cards and bring the deck back, make it whole again. So unfortunately, like I said, once the player characters realized kind of what was going on, they didn't really want much to do with it. It really kind of derailed the adventure, unfortunately, and it was around that time that I suffered actually a little bit of DM burnout, because prior to this I was running, this was actually something that I put into a homebrew campaign. So unfortunately I never got to finish that. I'd love to go back and actually run this adventure again, and I've been considering trying to update it for 5th edition. And seeing if I can get a 5th edition game, because a lot of the basic core stuff are things that, the concepts are things that, there's the Void, are things that I could, probably easily translate over. But again, I just absolutely love this item. The Deck of Many Things, I haven't used it in a long time, but like I said, I just loved it so much that I had to get this. So with that said, for all of you guys in the comment section, everybody watching this video, what's one of your favorite Magic items? Like I said, for me, this is one of the first ones that really kind of captured my imagination when I first started playing, and I've had a sort of a soft spot for it ever since. So are there, wondrous items, or is there a particular weapon maybe that you had for one of your first characters that you really enjoyed? What is, your favorite, or what is, magic item that as a player you always want to have, or as a DM you want to try to find ways to incorporate into campaigns? What are some of your favorite items? There's other magic items as well that I have always really enjoyed as a player, because I'd like to play archers a lot. So things like a Quiver of Elona was something that I always really tried to get my hands on, along with things like Bracers of Archery. But those are kind of, less interesting, I think, than, this Deck of Many Things. So again, just, let me know in the comments below, what are some of your favorite items, what are some of the earliest items that you remember having, either as a DM in your campaigns or as a player for your character, and I'd love to read the comments. So again, thank you guys very much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.